Welcome back to what is quickly becoming one of my favorite series on the channel, and that is Stuck on an Island with 5 games. Today we're back on the hypothetical island, and we're going to be breaking down which 5 PlayStation 2 games we're going to be bringing with us. And I couldn't be any more excited because this is one of my favorite consoles. This is one of the hardest selections to go through as well. There's so many great games for the PlayStation 2, but once again, we're looking for variety, replay value, and just games that are fun to play. You know, we want a little bit of length, we want variety. We're going for it all. So stay tuned, grab a snack, and enjoy the show. Like always, before we get started, these are just my picks. You know, I have a lot of nostalgia towards these games. A lot of it is based off nostalgia, and we're just having fun here. There's no particular list or order or ranking. You know, I'm just gonna go through the 5 games I would be stuck on an island with. And I would love to hear about it in the comments, what you guys would bring with you. So make sure you give this video a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and please comment the 5 games you'd bring with you. Now, that's enough talk. Let's get started with the first game. Now, this particular game is one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games of all time. Still holds up to today. It was groundbreaking for the time. I remember reading about it in the magazines before it came out and just being blown away. I mean, that's kind of dating me right there because that's how we found out about games back in the day. But the first game we're going with is none other than Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Yes, you cannot go wrong with San Andreas. I mean, I just love the environment. Being in LA, kind of like got the gangster mentality to the game. And I love Carl Johnson, who actually spreads out across the universe with other Grand Theft Auto games, which is pretty cool. And being able to customize your character, work out and get all jacked, you know, rep your colors for your gang. It was just so cool. And riding around on the bicycles was such a big deal and a big shift from the game. You know, I remember reading about it in the magazines and seeing that, and even the first mission just starts you off going through the tunnels and going through, you know, your little hood and based off LA kind of, and Ryder and Big Smoke, and it was just so cool. And the story is great, you know, getting to go to their version of San Francisco and Las Vegas, and even out to the desert and kind of the remote areas in the mountain. So much variety in terms of gameplay and customization with the cars. I mean, creating lowriders. It was just so much fun. So I had to bring an open world with me, and I had to bring San Andreas. You know, I could have went with Vice City or Grand Theft Auto 3, but for me, San Andreas is where it's at. So that's our first game on the list. Like I said, these are in no particular order. We're not ranking these. I'm just pulling from the pile. So game number 2 is going to be another one of my favorites, and that is Need for Speed Underground 2. Now, I recently talked about Most Wanted, and I love Most Wanted, but Underground, the Underground series as a whole, is where my love for racing games really began. Fast and the Furious was at an all-time high, and I just loved the underground scene, the street racing scene. You're kind of in like a Miami environment. I also love kind of like the storyboard, like storytelling aspect of the game. Instead of like cutscenes, there's a lot of like, it's almost like reading a comic book in one sense, but it's got a pretty good story for a racing game. It's got great customization with the vehicles, a great selection of cars, and just fun all around arcadey fun racing. I don't know, I just love how this kind of started the open world aspect of Need for Speed games too. Because up until this point, they really didn't have that, and then Most Wanted kind of expanded on it. But Need for Speed Underground 2 kind of took everything to the next level and brought the franchise, I thought, to an all-time high. This is where Need for Speed was peaking, in my opinion. I love the series as a whole. I had to go with number 2. I just had so much fun with this game back in the day, and I still enjoy it today. It still holds up really well. The racing's a lot of fun, and I love just going through and picking my favorite cars and customizing them and hitting the open road with my ride and taking over Miami. Well, their version of Miami. So there we go. Right off the bat, we got our open world kind of, Grand Theft Auto, just action adventure, third person shooter type of game. And then now we have our racing game. So great variety. 2 games I'd never get sick of right off the bat. So we're off to a great start. Moving right along, we're going to game number 3. This series is an absolute treasure to me. I could play all 3 of the first games, well, the first original trilogy, and it was hard to kind of pick between the second one and the third one for this video, but in the end I have more nostalgia for the third one, and that is Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. And it's getting a remake, so how cool is that? I cannot wait for the remake, honestly, Delta. So this is basically kind of the prequel to Metal Gear Solid 3. Or sorry, Metal Gear Solid. This is actually basically where the story begins for Solid Snake. One of the things that really stuck out to me about this game when it first came out was kind of the survival aspect of it. When you're literally finding snakes and you're eating them, and the different camouflages you could come up with, and just sneaking around, and the jungle element and kind of the war element and the backstory with it. I thought it had a great story. Metal Gear Solid 2 is fantastic as well, but I didn't play that until later in life, so decided to go with Metal Gear Solid 3. It's one of those games I go back to time, and I love the boss fights in this game, the storyline, the characters, just always solid. Hideo Kojima just never disappoints in my opinion, and this is kind of his peak for Metal Gear Solid. You know, I have a lot of nostalgia for the first game too, and that was in my, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch my Stuck on an Island with PlayStation 1 games, 5 PlayStation 1 games, because of course I included Metal Gear Solid in that one. I won't give away the other games, but yeah, I love the series, so had to bring me a Metal Gear game. So now we've added our little stealth, tactical, third person, just all around badass game to the collection. So got a nice little variety going on with our games so far. You know, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Need for Speed Underground 2, and now we got Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. Now this next game might seem a little random and might need a little explaining before I talk about it. But it's another, I wouldn't say this particular year I'm super nostalgic for. I did own it when I was a kid, but more the series as a whole. And when we're talking about replay value, this game has so much replay value, and that is NCAA Football 08. There's nothing really significant about 08. It's just the one I own for PlayStation 2. But the reason why I'm bringing this on the island with us is because I love building up colleges from the ground up. You know, you can play forever with your dynasty mode and your recruiting. And this one was really cool too, because you had the Heisman Watch, you had the top 25, you had the magazines for each week, and it would kind of break down the biggest highlights and storylines going on from college football. And not to mention, my Auburn Tigers were pretty good in it too. That's where I went to college, just to be frank with you. And but one of my favorite things to do in NCAA football was to go back and pick like a really terrible team and build them up to this national championship powerhouse. And I could just do that over and over again. You know, it doesn't get old to me. It's a little repetitive, a football game, but I wanted a sports title to bring with us. I kind of went back and forth with this and NFL 2K5, because I do have that as well. But the franchise mode, you know, I feel like it's fun and the gameplay is excellent in 2K5. But college football, I just love the recruiting aspect and building up that recruiting class, getting transfers to come, you know, building up the freshmen to make them potential Heisman Trophy winners when they become sophomores, juniors, and seniors. It's just a lot of fun to me. The gameplay is still solid. I still play this still to this day on this little CRT TV behind me. So that's my fourth pick. We're going with NCAA Football 08. Kind of random, but hey, once again, we're looking for variety. We're looking for, you know, a good collective mix of things to play. And I love adding a college football game to it. So we're rounding it out, and we got one more game, and this one's very special. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I have a special love for survival horror games. And a lot of people are like, he's probably gonna bring Resident Evil, this and that. And you were almost right. I went back and forth between this game and Resident Evil Code Veronica. I love Code Veronica because of the length of it, and I have a lot of nostalgia for that game because I actually didn't jump on the PlayStation 2 when I was a kid at first. I actually had the Sega Dreamcast, so Code Veronica was my Resident Evil back then. But anyways, for my final game that we're bringing with us, and one of my favorite horror games of all time, none other than Silent Hill 2. Woo, baby. I could go back and play this over and over again. The music, the atmosphere, the characters, the environments, the enemies, the monsters, the bosses, Pyramid Head. I mean, it's an absolute classic. Gem of a game. And I know they're making a remake. I won't get into that. I absolutely adore Silent Hill 2. It's my favorite in the franchise. Never gets old to me. So I had to bring along Silent Hill 2. I just had to. It's one of those games I can go back to over and over again. And I absolutely just adore it. It is that good. I mean, it's probably in my top 5 of all time, I would have to say. And unfortunately, I don't own any of the other ones on PlayStation 2. I had Silent Hill 3 for a little bit, but I've never gotten my hands on Silent Hill 4 or Origins or any of these other ones, but I'm definitely looking forward to picking up Silent Hill 3 and 4 in the future. I've played most of Silent Hill 3, and that's a great game too. Haven't got to finish it yet, but I look forward to finishing that third game and the fourth game eventually. But Silent Hill 2 is just so special and holds a special place in my heart. So that is our 5th game that we're bringing on the island with us. And let's just recap real quick. So first we started off with Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And then we brought Need for Speed Underground 2. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. NCAA Football 08. And Silent Hill 2. That is going to wrap it up for another Hypothetical Island video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're getting a kick out of this episode and this series as a whole. I'm having so much fun with it. It's bringing up so much nostalgia for me, and it's fun to kind of pick and choose because these aren't necessarily my favorite games. Most of them are, but I'm trying to add a collection of games that I would never get bored with. And this is what I went with, and I can only choose out of the games in my collection. I don't have every game at my disposal. I'm not looking at it that way, so I'm only choosing from games in my collection. So comment down below. I want to hear the 5 PlayStation 2 games you would bring with you. Make sure you give this video a like, and thanks again for joining and watching and supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. We're pushing for 1,000 subscribers this year, so each one counts, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay blessed.